The one, the only, the great Nigel Farage. He joins us each and every Tuesday from the mighty old Dart. Pint, hopefully in hand, just underneath the desk, otherwise standing by as the leader of Reform. Great man, lovely to see you. You've either had one or you're on your way to one, but a pint will happen today, right?
Oh, without any shadow of a doubt. As soon as the sun is over the yard arm at midday, I'll be there.
Get in there. It's midday somewhere. Let's talk about the NHS. Give us an idea again about more changes, particularly, people love the NHS. They seem to, be obsessed with the organisation of the NHS. This idea about changes in and around NHS England, what does this actually mean for people and how's it going to go down?
Well, about 10 years ago, the Conservative government created a quango called, the NHS England. And so you had layer after layer of people that was, trying to organise the NHS at great cost. So NHS England is to go. And, hey, it's a Labour government doing this, not a Conservative one. That needs just a sort of millisecond of thought. So 10,000 people will be removed. But I wonder whether any of them will actually lose their jobs or just get shunted somewhere else inside the bloated public sector. But it's part of a picture. And Starmer has been talking about benefits, about too many people being on benefits. And Starmer is speaking in a way that is much more right-wing than any Conservative Prime Minister we've had for about 30 years. Now, whether this lasts or not, I don't know, but it is absolutely fascinating. And no wonder people call them the Uniparty, because you can't really tell which policies are Conservative and which are Labour.
Correct, and which are, of course, about sort of trying to play some form of 4D chess against yourself, about what you represent and about what you are surging at the moment in the polls. Remember, 1 point off the Labor Party and multiple points in front of the Tories right now. Yep. I say, future PM, stand by. In the next 24 hours, there will be a conversation between the President of the United States, President of Russia, in and around what is going to happen with Ukraine. Now, the public pronouncements of Putin are not doing any deals, we're going to push on, or we'll stay where we are. We know that Zelensky, to some degree, is willing to negotiate, but the European leaders have turned around and are essentially saying we will replace what the US takes away. Obviously, you're not in either of those leaders' heads, but what would you like to see come out of this?
It's a very important phone call. The very fact we're even having peace discussions is simply because of President Trump, and that is a good thing, absolutely the right thing. Zelensky has got to the right position, and I think he can now see that the minerals deal could be massively advantageous to Ukraine. The question is, Putin is still playing games. I hope the conclusion of this is that Trump gets Putin to the table without too many guarantees being made beforehand, because that kind of defeats the object, doesn't it, of sitting down and having these discussions. All I would warn is that Trump must not appear to be giving Putin too much in terms of a reward for his invasion of Ukraine. I think we accept that Crimea is now off the table, but there has to be what's seen as, number one, a just peace, but number two, a peace that holds. And that's the genuine fear that the Europeans have. They worry that actually Putin might try to do it again. So it's about putting security guarantees in place. But it's no easy business because, frankly, without Britain and France, and we're not even members of the European Union, but without us two, there really isn't much in terms of Italy, in terms of Germany. Now, look, there will now be a rapid increase in industrial production of military hardware in Europe as a result of what Trump has done. But quite how this negotiation over ending the war in Ukraine ends, frankly, Paul, right at the moment, it's anyone's guess.
Yeah, and I've got to say, I would always prefer world leaders to have some level of dialogue, some level of discussion, and even ones in absolute disputation like these two, that there has to be somewhere for conversations to take place. You are so right, and I was cheering you on as you're saying that you hope not too much is traded, in one direction or the other, and in terms of that, the direction of Russia. Obviously, Russia wants to, among other things, save face. So if there's a scenario where they roll out and the map looks exactly the same as when they rolled in, that what happens is a guarantee about Ukraine never becoming a member of NATO, Ukraine never being able to extend its borders, while obviously there is this third element sitting behind it, which is whatever happens out of today's phone call, what part of that European reaction is going to be, because I think we both know, even if the best possible deal for Ukraine is struck within the next 12 hours, there'll be a reflexive reaction from the industrial left to say Trump went too far helping Putin.
Yeah, and that's clearly what they're lined up to do. And frankly, whatever the deal is, and one of the things I find bizarre is how many of those on the centre left seem to prefer perpetual war to sitting down and talking with Putin's administration. And remember, the great Winston Churchill once said, jaw is better than war. And I think we'd all do well to remember that. One slight reflection from the UK. Keir Starmer absolutely wants to defend Ukraine's borders. Shame he can't defend our own, isn't it, really?
Here. Thank you so much. We love you, Nigel. We'll see you again this time next week, mate. All the best. There he is, Nigel Farage, Leader of Reform. And by the way, they've had a huge surge at the moment. Local councillors, and that's the next big election that's coming up in the UK, 29 councillors, previously either unaffiliated or affiliated with other parties, are now joining Reform. So the voters are coming their way. Elected representatives are jumping on the bandwagon, and the bandwagon is moving at speed. All right.